This morning, nearly 3 weeks since Nolan Wells vanished in the waters off the Mississippi Gulf Coast, the district attorney is speaking out to defend the investigation into the 18-year-old's death.
Nolan's family deserves answers, and our community deserves answers.
While his family and his community are clamoring for answers, District Attorney Angel Myers-McElrath says Wells's case is being handled the same way as every death investigation.
I understand the public's urgency to know what happened to Nolan, but we are not taking time for time's sake. We are taking the time required to complete the work this investigation demands.
She met last week with Wells's parents, who pledged to allow investigators to examine his phone, which he left behind in a boat during a July 4th trip with friends to Horn Island. Few details have been released, but the district attorney says that's by design.
The pressure for answers does not change what the work requires. Our responsibility to Nolan and our community is to complete this investigation thoroughly, carefully, without compromise, supported by the evidence and worthy of the confidence of the people we serve.
The Wells family is skeptical Mississippi authorities are up to the job.
My concern, and also my husband's concern, was it was not even an hour that his body had been removed, and the sheriff came out and said, this is, accidental drowning. We don't think there's foul play.
Sources tell ABC News Wells's body was found face down in the water, consistent with drowning. An autopsy the family commission said the cause and manner of the 18-year-old's death was undetermined. The results of the state's official autopsy are still pending. The district attorney is pleading for patience, hoping to convince the public that protecting the integrity of the investigation will allow the truth to be known with confidence. Rebecca?
Yeah, something both his family and the public deserves, that confidence. Okay, Aaron, thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Ahmadai Shakur. So I find it very interesting that so many stories are changing in the case of Nolan Wells. Let's get into it. Now, first of all, a report came out today saying that the police were given the permission to search the boats. Well, the thing is, why did they need permission? They couldn't get a warrant. And also for them to search the boat and saying that they could take any documents or evidence that they thought they needed. But why didn't they bring the crime scene investigators out there and have them put down luminol and do a thorough investigation of the boat? Okay, I find that very suspicious. Okay, please pay attention. Also, why is the guy from the Cajun Navy by the name of Brian Trasher, why is he lying and saying that Benjamin Crump refused to allow the canine dogs on the boat? Saying that he spoke with the family and Benjamin Crump, and Crump told him no, they didn't want the canine dogs on the boat. Okay, because first of all, Ben Crump does not have any permission to give for someone else's boat. So they would have had to speak to the owner. So how did Benjamin Crump himself refuse to allow the canine dogs on the boat? Now, it seems to me like he's painted a narrative, like he's basically trying to accuse Ben Crump of being a liar, because he also said that Ben Crump misrepresented their words, basically saying that they never said that Nolan's body was fully clothed. But one of them did say that. It was on Nancy Grace's show. One of them absolutely said and agreed when Nancy Grace said that the body was fully clothed. They didn't correct her. Okay, so why is he trying to make it seem as though Ben Crump is lying or trying to misrepresent the facts? Okay, please pay attention. And then Warren is clearly lying, because Warren said, and even his stepmother, Judge Ashley Cole, said in her statement that they left the island, or the last time they saw Nolan was 3 p.m. and then they were leaving the island at 4:31 p.m. because the boat was taken on water. But then during the interview with Tatum, Warren says that they were about to leave and the boat was taken on water and they were yelling. His friend was yelling for Nolan to get on the boat, and Nolan refused to get on the boat and said he was going to stay there with Katie. Now, if that's true, how did he see Nolan the last time at 3 p.m., but then at 4:31 when they were leaving, he says that he heard his friend yelling at Nolan? Okay, so that doesn't make any sense. I also found it interesting that now all of a sudden, Warren says that his brother got into an altercation, got into a fight, and that he was basically concerned about that and went to go check on his brother. Now all of a sudden, all these people are having fights. First it was Tristan, and now Warren is saying that his brother had a fight. Now, I'm not saying that couldn't happen, but it seems like they're trying to possibly explain away the altercations that we heard. Okay, please pay attention. And the fact that they have not released the first autopsy is very suspicious, and I don't think think they're going to release it. They want to send it to the grand jury. Now, they say they'll release it after the fact, but who knows? The bottom line is, why can't they just release it so everyone can find out the truth of what's really going on? It just seems like there's a whole cover up, and like so many people are involved in it. And at this point, I'm inclined to think that Brian Trasher from the Cajun Navy is also involved. Okay, please pay attention.
I'm just saying. If you ain't paying attention, you is tripping. Happy Saturday. Welcome back to On the Shoulders of Giants. I am Joseph Ward, and we are furthering our examination of this Nolan Wells case with some new information, updated information, latest things that have happened. And of course, as always, we're not going to put our emotions in this. We're putting our critical thinking caps on so we can examine this and go through this information and see what's logical, what makes sense, and what doesn't. And so I do have three main videos that we're going to be looking at. We're looking at a Nancy Grace video where she's going through different things and looking at different information. I have another young lady who's going through different information that we're going to be examining. And we're also, our main feature is examining the interview between Officer Tatum and Warren Cole, the son of Judge Ashley Cole. That's the person that Butter Biscuit, knee-living Officer Tatum decide to interview, who is posing as Nolan Wells' best friend is Warren Cole. When Nolan's mother already told us that Javon and Jay Sean, I think the other name, those were his friends. So how y'all doing? Kiki, what's going on? Happy Saturday. Good afternoon to you, Kiki Battle Genja. What's going on, my brother? What you mean, Battle? We got to talk. You said fires raging here on the reservation, but I made it here for my sanity. Oh man, we got to talk. We definitely got to talk soon, man. Said they needed first omit third-party consent to search the private property as it counts as a temporary housing. So via case law, it has the same 4A protections as entering the home warrantless. The boat wasn't the actual crime scene per se, so they have to abide by federal procedure process, especially since the feds are involved. But the locals have already look here. You know, getting the conversation started, getting our brain cells going, making sure we put some critical thinking to what's going on. Said, why did anybody call or talk with Katie that night? Why? Said, why didn't? Good question. Well, a lot of people wasn't talked to. A lot of people were not talked to. As Battle Genja just told us, the locals have already dropped the ball. In my opinion, I don't trust nobody but the parents right now. I understand being Crump got a job to do, but I don't trust nobody but the parents right now. Not even Crump, not even none of them. And I'm not saying Ben Crump is doing anything wrong, but I'm just giving you my perspective as of right now from all the information that I've come across, because we have more questions than answers, and this is not good. Even after the independent autopsy, I just put out the video yesterday about the independent autopsy, and there are more questions than answers. And I get it. When the body was shipped to Washington, D.C., a lot of the organs that they needed to examine were missing because they were not shipped from Mississippi. So I do understand that, but that's just, part of the frustration that goes into it is those organs and those body parts should have been sent with them so we can have a thorough autopsy instead of one that's incomplete and we have to wait for further information and the toxicology report. They're basically waiting on the state of Mississippi to release the toxicology report. We need the state of Mississippi to release the results of the autopsy. We need more information from the independent autopsy. It's just so much more information. And then Butter Biscuit, white man loving Brandon Tatum decided to insert himself. And let me make this clear. I do not want to make this about Brandon Tatum, but we are examining the interaction that he's having with Warren and a lot of the false narratives that he's creating around this case. Now, though we know how to read and we can comprehend what we read, and we know how to do research and sift through information, falsehoods and all those things. So we're not going to fall for the bull, but we're just calling it out and examining it. So we're going to have a good show today. We're going to have some fun. We're going to get some learning on. We're going to debunk a lot of lies, and we're going to be here doing it for the next 2 hours. Real Spill, what's going on, my brother? How you doing on this good Saturday? So y'all buckle your seatbelts, get your thinking cap, get your snacks, get your drinks. Let's do this. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you comment. Make sure you subscribe. Hype this video. Share. If you have not already, go ahead and help a brother out. Support this channel and do all those things. Hit that like button, comment, subscribe, hype, share, all those things. And happy Saturday. I'm glad y'all here. Nemesis, what's going on, my brother? Hey man, you know how I go in the field, Nemesis. You know how I go, but I appreciate you being my brother in arms, though. So let's start with this Nancy Grace video first, and shout out to whoever did Nancy Grace hair, because it says this ride really don't focus on none of this issue anymore. My wellness requires. Hey, nah, trust me, brother. Trust me, I get you. I get you. You know, I got a little more left in the tank for me, but we gonna see how long it lasts. Miss NBC, how you doing? Happy Saturday. Thank you for being here. So once again, shout out to whoever did Nancy Grace hair, and let's get into this information.
Wales bombshell tonight. The dead teen's messages deleted after his body washes ashore. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us.
18-year-old football star Nolan Wells heads to Horn Island with his friends to celebrate the 4th of July. But hours later, after he doesn't return to shore, his friends report him missing, launching a desperate search across the water.
They met that day, and it was kind of one of those things. It did come off that day that he really did like her, but that was the only time they'd ever hung out was at Horn Island on July 4th.
We're sinking. Can you all please come?
And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's on board.
From our friends at GMA, no, everyone was not on board. Nolan was not on board. And who's that?
She do look like a predator with them, like not like a child predator. She look like she a predator in the savannah with that hairstyle and her eyebrows. I didn't even pay attention to her eyebrows. She do look like she akin to a leopard or something with them eyebrows.
The mysterious girl he met for the very first time the day he goes missing, his body spotted by the United Cajun Navy, washed ashore. We have obtained that photo. We are choosing tonight not to show it. That last sound from our friends at NBC joining me in all-star panel, but first straight out to Todd Terrell, representing the United Cajun Navy, participating in the water search for Nolan Wells. Todd, thank you for being with us. What did you observe?
You know, Horn Island, that area right there is an area that we have seaplanes that we operate back and forth to the island, taking people back and forth fishing, or oil field workers, you know, back off to rigs and stuff. That morning, the body was observed on the northwest portion of Horn Island, which is not unusual for someone to drown and be washed up in that area. There was a park ranger that was on the island that actually had spotted the body, and we were calling in down to law enforcement officials on the ground what we saw from the air.
Todd Terrell joining us from the United Cajun Navy, called in to participate in the water search for this young star athlete, Nolan Wells. Tonight, mystery swirling around his death. How is it that a group of his friends go out on a boat? They go to a remote Horn Island. There is nobody there. It's uninhabited. There are no phones. There are no bathrooms. It's just a hangout place. How does he end up dead on the shore and everybody else makes it back? I want you to hear one more time what the group is saying about that day.
They met that day, and it was kind of one of those things. It did come off that day that he really did like her, but that was the only time they'd ever hung out was at Horn Island on July 4th.
From our friends at GMA, who is she? Where is she? What, if anything, did she have to do? If there is,
I see, Libra, I don't really trust them either.
Is a she with Nolan's death. That's from our friends at GMA. Back to you, Todd Terrell. And I'm about to go to Caitlin Becker, a senior national correspondent, New York Post, on the story from the get-go. Todd, you stated to me that it's, quote, not unusual.
He did say that.
For bodies to wash ashore in that spot. What do you mean by that? Because if it was that common, wouldn't this be designated a dangerous area and there would be warning signs? What do you mean it's not unusual? I find that hard to believe.
Well, many areas along the coast of the whole Gulf Coast area is a dangerous area. You know, I don't believe they could put up signs anywhere. I think it should be known that these are bad areas. The rip current is very bad in that northwestern portion. We call it the washing machine, actually. It's an area where the current just rolls round and round in there, kind of like a washing machine. And one of the interesting things was where Nolan was found was probably pretty close to where the incident occurred. So the body didn't go that far.
Okay, what incident? Was there an incident? Are you suggesting Todd Terrell, joining us tonight from the United Cajun Navy, our friends, by the way, at the United Cajun Navy. They are called in on many missing persons case. Todd, you stated the incident. What incident? You mean he didn't drown?
We're saying that whatever happened, we're calling an incident. Our job as United Cajun Navy is to bring people home back to their families, first of all alive, second of all recover the body if possible. We knew in this case, the time frame that was involved, that we were looking for a recovery at this point. But when I said the incident, something happened to make Nolan not be with us anymore. It appears as though it was a drowning. You know, there was a lot of rumors about him being brought back to the land 10 miles away and you know, brought back out there and dumped off. I don't believe any of that is true.
But what would be the evidence that we could point to that would lead you to say it appears to have been a drowning? I just don't know the evidence that we've come across thus far that could point towards that. Because right now, any conclusion is up in the air right now. But how can you be like, it's a drowning based off of what? That's my question.
Whatever happened in that water, we're calling the incident. You know, the water goes from 2 to 3 foot to like 20 feet real quick. You know, there was some underage kids out there drinking. It's an island, you know, there's no IDs being checked or anything like that. So we said an incident, there's anything that could have happened. And not every person that drowns do you hear screaming and hooping and hollering. But at this point, our job was to bring Nolan home, and we did that.
What was observed? Guys, you're seeing right now from our friends at the United Cajun Navy, the video taken from their aerial craft. On the beach, you see a grouping of individuals. Now, from another source, we have obtained photos of Nolan's body.
I got your email, bro. I got it.
That we are not showing. It's just not right. But I can tell you, when you see that grouping of people on the beach, they look like little ant figures from this high up above, but that is where Nolan's body is. They're standing around it. As I recall, Todd Terrell, Nolan was face down, still fully clothed on the beach. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. He was face down, which would have meant that he drowned. Now, when we say he was found fully clothed on the beach, it was in the same vicinity of where he possibly drowned, you know, right there. So
he's saying because he was face down, that means he's possibly drowned. Because he was found face down, how does that make sense? Because what if something happened to him before he was in the water that claimed his life? He would still be found face down, right? If something happened to him and he's incapacitated or even deceased, he could be found face down. Because he's making it seem like because he was found face down, that's the evidence that he needs, that he drowned. That don't make sense.
It was not uncommon for the body to have washed up right there. That being said, that area full of rip currents really strong right there, goes from 2 to 3 foot to 20 feet, pretty much within a couple steps. So that being said, whatever happened really, really close to where the body was found.
You know, Todd Terrell, I don't mean to be giving you a hard time. This is not about you. The United Cajun Navy are the protagonists in this scenario. You're the good guys. I've just got so many questions about how this happened. Was there anyone else on Horn Island when Nolan's body was found?
Now, there was the park ranger was out there, and there was some law enforcement officials that actually had their boats anchored out there. You know, they were kind of like waiting around for a call of what to do. What people don't realize is when you're looking for a body on the water, especially in the Gulf where you have waves going and you have white caps, it's a little bit harder to see. When you're in a boat, you can only kind of see the vicinity around you. So when we put these seaplanes up in the air, we can get a much more visual of the much more bigger area. And these seaplanes can go low and slow. So what we do is we stay in contact with the officials on the ground and tell them what we see. And if they see something too, they can relay it up to us and we can go investigate it. So in this case, there were several law enforcement boats that were just kind of hanging out in the area on the island. And there was numerous other boats in the area, you know, circling and looking. But the body was found by a park ranger as it washed up on the beach.
You know, very curious, Todd. Guys, joining us, Todd Terrell with United Cajun Navy. When I said, was anyone else on the island when Nolan's body was found? Your answer was completely 100% accurate, but let me rephrase and refine my question. You're saying the park ranger found him. That leads me to believe there were no friends. There was no newly met girlfriend. So am I left to believe that he goes out swimming all on his own and the friend girl leaves, the mates from school leave, everybody just leaves him out in the water and he dies and then just conveniently washes ashore? Somebody just left him out in the water? Does that make sense to you, Todd Terrell?
Well, you know, being a person that goes to this island and several other areas that you can only get to by boat. We have some restaurants and bars in Louisiana that you can only get to by boat, which means you have to hitch a ride with somebody on a boat or that has a boat to get there, which a lot of things could go wrong in that scenario. But as far as what we believe, I believe that Nolan went out there with a group of friends. They were friendly, obviously so, because he was even out there. I mean, you got to understand, to go to an island, you have to have a boat, which means you have to have friends, which you have to have people that kind of like you to even bring you out there. So when Nolan got out there, the group of guys he was with, you know, they decided to come in a little bit earlier. They were having some engine trouble in their boat, which is not uncommon. Happens a lot. Nolan, for whatever reason, decided to stay on the island, which is not uncommon. He could have, you know, had this girl he was talking to. He could have just, for whatever reason, decided to stay. Not uncommon. That doesn't give us any reason to think foul play or anything was involved there. The issue is, when he stayed on the island, he had to hitch a ride back in with somebody. And there's where the issue becomes, who did he hitch a ride back in exactly? How were these people connected to him? How did they know him? And it's not uncommon for you not to know somebody at all and just say, hey, I need to ride back in. And they say, yeah, come on, get in the boat with us. So if I say, hey, Nancy, come on, get in the boat with us, that means at that point, we're responsible for you.
But Todd, here's my issue. Again, I agree with what you said, but the critical moment is somebody had to leave him there alone for the rest of the scenario that you're describing to unfold. Right. He had to be alone. Right. And Todd, and I'm going to bring in the rest of the panel, I want you to hear this.
We already know that this is debunked. We already know that that's not Nolan's voice yelling about the phone. So
that is from Anna Moore on Snapchat, and you have to listen very intently to hear what she claims is being said. Todd Terrell, United Cajun Navy, please don't Don't move. Joining me now, Caitlin Becker, the senior national correspondent, New York Post. She is the star of New York Post.
She's saying that in order for the scenario for the dude from the Cajun Army, in order for his scenario to be true, Nolan would have to been left alone. That means that he would have had whatever he would have had to refuse to get on the boat with those people to get back to the mainland in order for him to be left alone out there by himself. So I'm hoping she's saying, that's what I interpret. She's saying that she don't believe he was left alone. And in order for that scenario that the Cajun dude from the Cajun Army said, for it to be true, he would have to be left alone.
Cast, New York Post Cast. That's her podcast. Caitlin, thank you for being with us. Now, according to what this Anna Moore on Snapchat has revealed, you can hear, and this is also according to the attorneys, "Give me my effing phone." This is Nolan reportedly talking. What the F are you doing? The friend, they claim, Tristan Shepard. I can't tell that from what I'm hearing. The friend says, "Get off me. Get the F off this boat. F you, bro." Now, the voice we believe is Nolan's is, "Give my effing phone. What the F are you doing?" And then another voice, "Get off me. Get the F off this boat. F you." Okay. What do we know? And Caitlin Becker, joining us from New York Post, who is this mysterious friend girl? Because I want to talk to her.
Katie, who is Katie?
I want to talk to her too, Nancy. The video is tough. The Snapchat is really tough because you do clearly hear an angry altercation. There is the assumption that we're working off of that it is Nolan. However, a few other friends have confirmed it's not Nolan. There's actually someone who said it was me, not him. So you have someone coming forward saying that is not him on the video. So then did no altercation actually take place, or is someone jumping in saying that's me to misdirect or to redirect us from looking at it? That's the one question. The other question that you asked is, who's the girl? Her name is apparently, allegedly, Katie. That's kind of all we know, just Katie. Someone purporting to be related to Katie went on social media, and this is not something that we've been able to confirm, nor have investigators confirmed it. But according to this person, Katie said, "We met, we talked. He seemed like he was going back on the boat with his friends, and that was that." So Katie...
Okay, hold on right there. Caitlin Becker. Caitlin. Right there.
Caitlin.
The girl, if she exists, says they talked, they chatted it up, probably flirting with each other, if accounts are true. Then he leaves to go back to the boat with his friends. But according to the friends, he stayed with her. Right there, that is a conflict. That doesn't fit. Now, Caitlin Becker and the rest of the panel, I want you to hear this.
Is that Nolan in the video?
I can't tell. It's too far away. But in that video, I feel like the voices are too clear. Like from the side, it's too clear for it to be that far away, for it to be Nolan arguing. And then also that altercation, it sounds just like my other friend that got into the altercation on the boat. And they were trying to, as he was in that altercation, I was calming him down. They were trying to get him out off the island. They were trying to get him back.
Well, even to Nemesis and Battle Genja, to your point, a problem with us as far as this and our inability to, protect ourselves and do for self is, instead of just the normal outrage that we always have, we should be in a position to be able to do more ourselves. So going back to y'all points, because right now we're dependent, the same people that we believe that took Nolan's life, we are expecting them to give justice to this situation. So yeah.
To land because he was just losing it.
Okay, so you've got, that's from our friend Harvey Levin at TMZ. So you've got half the people saying that is Nolan that's in an altercation and is getting thrown off the boat. And then you got half the people going, oh, no, that's not him. But to me, the clear problem is that critical moment where Katie, if she exists, says he went back with his friends, and the friends say, oh no, we left, he wanted to stay with her. Right there, that is the first conflict. Both cannot be true. Those cannot mutually exist in truth. They're mutually exclusive.
Right.
He can't go with them and stay with her on Horn Island. Right there, John Mobley joining me, high-profile lawyer out of Charleston, South Carolina. John, that's where it starts. That lie. I don't know who's lying, but somebody's lying. Right there, Mobley.
Well, I don't know that I would necessarily agree with you on that. I think they can be both partially true depending on perspective. I think one thing we have to kind of keep in mind with this is we have a lot of different people telling things from different perspectives, from their own individuals' perspectives. It's certainly conceivable that he let his friends leave to stay with the female, if he was with the female, assuming that happened. And once he finished his communication or whatever he was doing with the female, told her he was leaving to go back with his friends. And from her standpoint, he said he was going back with his friends, which did not necessarily mean they were the same friends that dropped him off. So I would disagree with you on that.
But either way, somebody should know what happened to him. Whether he stayed on the island or got on the boat, it's presumed that he was with other people because there's no information that anybody's given to say that it's definitive that Nolan was by himself. Everybody is saying that they don't know what happened to him. So either way, whether Nolan stayed on the island where there were still hundreds of people there, or he went on the boat with the other people that he was on the boat, what happened to him? How come in both of these scenarios, nobody knows what happened to him? That's the problem. There should be people who know what happened to him, unless all of these people are in on covering up what happened to him. And because of a lack of information, hey, these are the assumptions. I'm just saying.
Hold on, Mobley. Let me see Mobley. Mobley, you're right. Because as I've told many juries, as a trial judge once always said in his jury instructions, it is your duty to make all witnesses speak the truth and impugn perjury to no one. So actually what you're saying could be true. If there's another group of friends, if they exist, we haven't heard about him, but you're saying he left with one group and had planned to come back with another group. Okay, I don't know if you're just spinning that out, but that could be possible. Okay, Mobley, listen to this.
You said that you hear on the video Nolan saying,
yes,
my freaking phone, what are you freaking doing?
That's what a witness told us, and that's what we reported out. Then another witness had come forward and said, no, that was his voice. We have other witnesses who said there were other altercations. So as Mr. Hurt said, we're trying to go through it all and so forth. And we'll be even more careful to say, this is what a witness told us in the future.
And so your team hasn't been able to look fully into that and confirm whether it was or was not Nolan that said that?
No, we have audio people doing it, but we know certain people.
So as an experienced lawyer, you didn't. See, this is why I'm saying I don't trust nobody but the parents. So as an experienced lawyer, you didn't think to preference that, hey, this is what was presented to us. We're not saying this is factual information. This is what's presented to us, because when you put that out like that, you make it seem like it's the truth. I'm just saying.
People said it was him, and then certain people said it was not him.
That is our friend, high-profile lawyer Ben Crump. And the last thing you want is him 3 inches up your tailpipe, okay? That's from our friends at Fox 10. So this is where it stands. Who left him there? Is there really a Katie? Did he stay with her? Did he leave with his friends? How did he end up there alone, which I find very, very disturbing. And also, back to Caitlin Becker joining us, senior national correspondent, New York Post, star of NY Postcast. The Postcast instead of podcast, it's a Postcast. Caitlin, now allegations have reared their ugly head that his phone has been tampered with and items have been deleted. Explain.
They had his phone. And when his mother was looking for his phone when he was missing, there were two different ways to identify it, either a Snapchat location or a Life 360 location. They showed different locations, which is very possible because one updates automatically, the other only updates when you open the app. But
even that is one of the biggest issues that we're having. Like, they had his phone, but they don't have him. And they act like they don't know where he is, but they have his phone. But why you have his phone and everybody is cool, everybody's comfortable, but you don't have him? Okay.
When she
we already know what this is.
Finally tracked it down, she says there was nothing on it from that day. And this is a teenager. This is a teenager who is constantly on their phones. Yes, when you're on a boat like this and you're out there, you leave it on the boat because you can't really get it wet and you don't want to.
Oh yeah, that's why I started out talking about her hair like I did, because she all with that extra dramatic stuff. Oh my God, she got that dramatic Peggy Hill voice with that hair. So yeah, Nancy just trying to get views.
Have it come to the beach with you because you have to actually go in the water to get there. But to have the phone from these friends who didn't willingly turn it over, didn't give it to investigators, didn't give it to his mom, just had it. And for her to open it up and say, I see nothing from that day, no Snapchats, no photos. It looked like things were missing, like there was a gap in the timeline of the life cycle of his phone.
Okay, I've got another problem regarding his phone. And, well, number one, to Dr. Janie Lacey, joining us, licensed psychotherapist, CEO of Life Counseling Solutions, author of
Nancy looked like she'll cry before she bites you. Like she'll go into one of them crazy boiling bunny panic cries and then bite your ass.
Well, many books, but How to Heal from a Toxic Relationship, and she's the star of Let's Talk About It with Janie Lacey. Okay, Dr. Janie, who leaves their phone behind? Now look, I just got off a boat with my twins. We went fishing all over the panhandle. We have what you call dry bags. We don't leave our boat, we don't leave our phone anywhere, because what if we need it? What if we need it out in the middle of nowhere and we were on a little strip of land right off the Gulf where, like Horn Island, there's no people. We were there fishing alone, believe it or not, and we had our cell phones. Now, I'm an adult, a teen. What teen leaves their cell phone? None.
Exactly, Nancy. I have a teenager. His phone is with him in his pocket all the time, and he even brings his phone to the bathroom. So we know that teens do not leave their phone. It is their way to communicate. It is attached to them. So when I think about what we're talking about right here is, right, concealment. And I can't speak to what these young people did, but I can tell you, especially young people, when it comes to their phone and they're constantly posting things, it is their norm. So when it comes to deleting, hiding, or even going silent after a tragedy, to me, it's almost always driven by fear of potential blame, fear of consequences, fear of what the truth might mean about themselves. But we know that secrets don't protect. And when teens don't have their phone, or when their phone potentially is taken from their friends, we know that there's a reason behind that. It's usually driven by fear, Nancy.
Okay, I got another issue. Caitlin Becker joining us with New York Post. Caitlin, the Life 360 seems to show something very different than other digital evidence. What do you know about that discrepancy?
It comes down to location, where the Life 360 shows him on dry land versus where the Snapchat showed him in the water, where he was and where the phone was positioned. So that is something that I think forensic investigators have to look into, digital forensic investigators, because it's difficult to determine from looking at it from our perspective, where was the phone actually? Was it out on the water at the last time it was used? Was it on dry land at the last time it was used? And when his mom went to go pick it up, who was the last person to have used it? That's something that sticks out to me, because I have to imagine it was password protected, and why would someone else have his password? But it seems as though his mom did, or that they did, so they were able to get into the phone. So the timeline of his disappearance is a big question mark, because you're getting two different locations from two different apps.
It's with all the information that's been presented, it's hard to say definitively that they didn't take Nolan's life. Like nobody knows what's going on, but everybody was with him. And Nolan, everybody is saying that Nolan was in a place that was densely populated, between hundreds and thousands of people on Horn Island, because Horn Island is the 4th of July spot down there. And once again, even if Nolan didn't go back on the boat and stayed with the supposed Katie girl, there were still hundreds of people around. But you know, they're using all of their institutional power to make sure that they keep these people out of jail.
Hi guys, Nancy Grace here. If you are a homeowner, you've probably thought no upfront fee, 3 to 7%.
So we ended up with showing something. So they opened up their Snapchat because a lot of the kids do have their locations where they're tracking one another.
Yeah, that's true.
So one of the boys says, well, it's showing that I can't exactly remember what his location was showing, but my Life 360 location was showing something completely different. It was actually showing that his phone was like he was on land. And so we ended up, she received the phone from that parent. So the Snapchat location looks completely different than the Life 360 location. So when I pulled...
But that's even more indication that they hide something, Nemesis, though. That's what I'm saying. That's even more indication that they hide something. We know they hiding something. We know it.
Up Life 360, it was different.
Now, the problem is we can't do nothing about it. That's the problem. And I get what you're saying. That's the problem, that we can't do nothing about it. But we do know they're hiding something.
It was showing everywhere the phone had been, like it had. I was like, well, it's showing that he's back on land. Like I'm not. He's like, but no, he didn't come back with us.
I've tracked my son 100 times when he's fishing, and it shows he's in the water. When he's off the water, it shows he's on land. The mom is right. You were just hearing Christine Wansley, that is Nolan's mother, from our friends at National Action Network and GMA. Okay, I got a big problem with the Life 360 and the phone data all not jiving. I could see it, John Mobley, being a few blocks off, but not the discrepancy his mother is describing. I'm not buying that. And another thing, while we're talking about discrepancies, John Mobley, do you have children?
I have children. I got Life 360. I use the iPhone location tracker. I will tell you, even though I'm not a digital data expert, that Life 360 is not always 100% accurate. I mean, I think in general, you have to kind of keep in mind with all of these phones that, they're dependent upon the signal they're reaching, the coverage. I mean, as you know, you can have a group of people together, which means they're going to take up more bandwidth, and that's going to cause signal interruption. I think it'd be premature for anyone to try to interpret the data without an accurate digital download being conducted on the phone.
Oh, okay. I'm sure Life 360 and the iPhone industry is going to call you on that. I'm really surprised at this juncture, Mobley, that you'll actually argue with digital forensic evidence. But okay, who should I believe? You or the phone, the Life 360 and the iPhone tracker?
I want to be clear. That's
but
not,
that said, the reason I asked you,
evidence.
I'm hearing something, and it's you. Mobley, if you have teens, okay, you should know about Snapchat. Okay, at the supper table, the children go, "Did you see so and so?" I'm like, "No, I didn't." And they go, "Oh, here's a snap." They hold it up and they go, "Don't touch it, mother, or it will, I don't know, delete. I don't know what it does to it." But a Snapchat, you get to look at it once and it's gone. See, that's a problem forensically and law enforcement wise with Snapchat, because they're gone. Unlike a text, or you send a photo or an email, or you send a video, as Alex Murdoch, that nailed his coffin, those stay. Snapchats disappear into the ether. Wow. So if the Snapchats aren't there, I can understand that. If there are texts deleted, I don't understand that. Okay, let's hear you explain that digital phenomena.
Now, I want to be clear. I want to just, go back to what you talked about earlier. You talked about the digital evidence. There has not been digital forensic evidence extracted from the cell phone yet. What you have are the young man's parents interpreting what they see on the phone and speculating that something must be missing. That's what you have. But both, you need to have a forensic digital data extraction, and correct. That can determine if text messages were sent, whether they're deleted, if photos are deleted, all that needs to be done. I mean, there's no.
Well, I mean, because this would go to the family's knowledge of the contents of his phone. And for one thing we do know is they were able to track the location of the phone to a specific house. And when they got the phone, they went and looked through it, and they're saying that things are missing, items are missing, information is missing. And that should be based off of their knowledge of his phone, or even information that has been shared, because it seems like everybody has access to his phone. So it don't seem like he might have got no lock on his phone. So, that's a possibility from what Buddy's saying, but okay.
No doubt about that whatsoever. But just individuals kind of looking at the phone, trying to interpret these things, that's not digital evidence. That would not be admissible in court. And actually, it would not be reliable.
We also agreed that we will have a mutual inspection.
And I'm wondering why that evidence from the independent investigation on the digital evidence of the phone, I wonder what's the holdup with that as well. Because it's the, Ben Crump and them are doing a lot of investigation, but we're not getting no answers.
Of the cell phone with our experts and their experts. Attorney Eric Hertz is helping lead the investigation team with former law enforcement experts who are going to help us with the cell phone download. So everybody will be able to see at the same time what the cell phone has.
Guys, that is our friend Ben Crump standing with the family. That's also from our friends at WLOX. Todd Terrell is with us, repping the United Cajun Navy, who was called in to participate in the water search for Nolan Wells. Todd, I'm curious about a theory that you threw out. It's not your theory, but it is a theory that has been discussed about his body being moved.
Well, as far as the body being moved, several things there. Like I said before, our mission is to bring a body home or bring a person back to their family and their loved ones. This is on federal land. So who has jurisdiction, first of all? It seems as though there's federal jurisdiction out there. The fact that they say the body was moved, we've offered our services. We have some of the best dogs available. This Jadarius case in Baton Rouge where the kid was dumped in a landfill, we were the ones instrumental in helping bring that to light, where they're searching for him right now because of our dogs, what they found at the gentleman's house that's in jail for murder. We offered our dogs to bring to the boat. There's only one thing that will clean blood off of a boat. I'm not going to mention it because it'll give people ideas. But I doubt if somebody would have done something, they would have used this chemical to remove the blood. So we've offered our services to bring the dogs around the boat of everyone that was potentially involved in this. So the federal land thing is a big deal. So the body being dumped, I would say that let us bring the dog to the boat. Let us bring it. They said the boat was clean that night or the day before. There's only one thing that's going to clean it. If there's blood in that boat, we'll find it. The other thing is getting back to the phone.
Cognitive dissonance.
If these guys had this phone, they stole his phone, why didn't they throw it away? Why didn't they just throw it in the water? And if there is anything on it, if it was deleted, forensics, they should be able to find it. My thing is, if you came with these guys and they didn't bring you home, that is not uncommon. So I think there's where the focus needs to be. A, on let's get this notion that there was a body dumped. Let's bring the dogs to that boat, and we'd be willing to offer our services to go check that out. And B, these guys in the boat that he came with, it's okay that they left him on the island or they didn't bring him in. But yeah, as far as the body being dumped, our services are offered and they've been offered to go bring the dogs around that boat.
I mean, nobody's saying that it's okay or not. That the argument isn't if it's okay or not okay if Nolan didn't get back on the boat with his friends. The thing is, no, everybody is saying that they don't know what happened to him. And he was clearly in a highly populated area, whether he left with his friends or not, whether he got back on the boat or not. Nolan was enough around people for someone to know what happened to him. That's the issue.
Hi guys, Nancy Grace here. Please join us on Crime Stories and stream it first on Fox 1. When breaking crime news develops, we investigate it and bring it to you. Bombshell updates, answers to unanswered questions from cases making the headlines and cases
that he was going to get.
Investigators, Fox 1. I hope to see you there.
And had he done so, would he have ever not wanted his cell phone? The young lady he was talking to who said he told her that he was going to get back into the boat with the boys. And then the boys said that Nolan said he was going to stay and talk with her. Obviously, the statements conflict with one another.
We always taught him to, if you go with a group, you stay with a group. Even when he was in college, he would say, Dad, well, we're going to ride down to a party or something in another city. Now, so I was telling him, look, if you go with 5, you come back with 5. Do not separate from your group. Because I always said safety is in numbers. And he always said, yes, sir. So he knew to stay with his group. So why would he split from his group? I don't know.
We went in his Snapchat. He had 2 accounts, absolutely nothing. It wasn't even 24 hours, which is how long videos and pictures stay in Snapchat. And I was just like, that can't be. Like, I've seen Nolan whenever he snaps, like when he goes and he's having fun, like he does videos. Like, there was absolutely nothing, no saved videos. And even my sister was like, yeah, that's suspicious,
Michael.
you know.
That is Nolan's family, the family lawyer with our friends at GMA and PBS. Caitlin Becker with us, senior national correspondent, New York Post, star of NY Postcast. Caitlin, a lot right there. Okay, you got Crump, and he's saying it is not Nolan's character to have stayed behind to start with, or much less without his phone. He identifies the conflict that we have identified tonight between the two stories. The dad insists he would never have parted with all of his friends. And last but not least, we're hearing not only did Snapchats disappear, but that Nolan was a videographer, a photographer. He always took pictures of the fun times he was having, moments with his friends, games, the whole shebang. But they're all gone. There are not any. I also find that disturbing, Caitlin.
It's a little odd that there was nothing on the phone seemingly from that day. That does strike me as odd. I do want to push back a little or set the stage a little bit for what this day was like. There were multiple boats going out at the same time to this island. They were filling up with a few teens. They left. The next group kind of got in. This is per the reporting and per what some of the witnesses said. There was maybe a couple hundred people on that island that day. That a lot of them were young. It was supposed to be some big kind of summer extravaganza before everybody, went back to school. So I don't think it's accurate to say he wouldn't go back with his friends, or he didn't go back with his friends, or he didn't intend to go back with his friends, because I think there were more than just those 4 friends on one boat that it sounded like the intention was for him to go with another group. Where I get stuck is the point that Ben Crump made. Why would he let his phone go back with his friends? Sure, you want to stay and go back with another group. I get that. You heard, the person who was part of the search saying that's not uncommon. It does sound uncommon for anyone, a teenager, an adult, anyone to say, okay, go ahead and take my phone back with you. I'll stay without a means of communication for however long. That's what gets me. Why would anybody let their phone go on another boat without them with no plan to get it back?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, regarding Snapchat, they delete immediately once they're opened. They can go about 30 days unopened, but you can manually set Snapchat to a 24-hour delete. And I'm wondering if that's what his...
Well, this it's funny. It's funny that this video comes up right now with Nolan, because this goes to Nemes's point about the cultural incompetence right here. Nemes's point of, you know, Nolan in this environment right here. So yeah.
Mother is talking about. And on another front, listen.
We had his body flown from Mississippi to Washington, D.C. because his family wanted to make sure that they had a doctor who had no ties to Mississippi law enforcement to
crime stories.
I want the problem. Yeah, but the problem with that is, when the body got to Mississippi, or when the body got to DC, that they didn't have the authority to make sure that all the parts got to Washington, D.C. We learned nothing from this autopsy. Like nothing. Because the people who were conducting the autopsy, even y'all didn't have the authority to make sure all the parts of the body were shipped to Washington, D.C., the critical parts, the critical organs. So we learned nothing really.
D.C. because his family wanted to make sure that they had a doctor who had no ties to Mississippi law enforcement to do an independent examination of their son's body. And we are hopeful to get that results in the very near future.
There is famed attorney Ben Crump speaking, the parents standing behind him, Nolan's parents, from our friends at Fox 10. Dr. Weigh in.
You know, Nancy, what I would want to stress is what we see with Christine, who is living through what we call ambiguity loss, right? And it's one of the most excruciating forms of grief there is. When a mother buries her child without her, it isn't just a legal issue in my mind, it's a mental health.
He is the esteemed lecturer at the Burnett School of Medicine at TCU and has performed well over 10,000 autopsies. Dr. Kendall Krause, thank you for being with us. Okay, I don't have a ruling from the medical examiner. It should be apparent. If drowning was the COD, cause of death, that should be very apparent by simply autopsying the lungs. Also, you'd know immediately if there were signs of trauma. I've seen the photos of his body on the beach. But as Todd Terrell from United Cajun Navy stated, the body was face down, so I couldn't see the face, the neck, the arms, the hands for defensive wounds. I couldn't see if there were bruises to the torso. I couldn't see if the skull was fractured. None of that. I couldn't see if teeth were missing. But it seems to me, if those exhibited, we would know there had been blunt force trauma, stabbing, shooting, manual or ligature asphyxiation. We would know that. But yet, we know nothing. So, to me, that would rule out drowning or trauma. Are they waiting on toxicology? Is that what they're waiting on? And why would the body have been sent for an independent?
So, like I said, and I did that video, I ain't no medical expert. So, what you're saying that, okay, you can't share the organs in the second autopsy. So, what's the purpose of the second autopsy, especially if those organs are the critical organs? So, what would be the purpose of the second autopsy if you still are relying on the results of the first autopsy? So, wouldn't that be a waste of time? Or am I just, like I say, it could be my ignorance. I'm not a medical expert, and we learning as we go on some of this stuff. So, but what would we learn from the second autopsy if they can't look at those same organs? What will we be learning differently?
Autopsy. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But what's going on, Dr. Kendall Crowns?
Okay, to start with, he was in the water for several days. I'm sure the water in that area is warm, so his body is going to be decomposing. He'll have skin slippage. He's going to have bloating from the decompositional gases, and then purge fluid coming out of his mouth and other orifices. So then you also probably have post-mortem animal scavenging or marine aquatic life scavenging that can create marks on the body as well. So at autopsy, your question, wouldn't you be able to see the evidence of injury? Yes, you should still be able to see injuries, bruises, stab wounds, gunshot wounds, all that, even in decomposition, can still be seen, can still be determined. He doesn't sound like he's been consumed by aquatic life to the point that he's skeletonized in the front of his body. So my assumption is you would still be able to see injuries. Now, they have not given a definitive cause and manner of death yet, because to me, that means there's no obvious signs of injuries or no obvious cause of death. Because drowning, yes, the lungs can swell and be heavy with fluid, but this can also happen with drug overdoses. So differentiating a drowning from a drug overdose is difficult.
No.
So you
No. N-O. Yes.
Well, I don't know how
it
many
would exhibit,
autopsies of
manifest
drownings
in
you've
the
done,
same.
but I've done a lot. So
Absolutely
continue
zero.
on,
But I
please.
don't need to have my MD or be the lecturer at Burnett School of Medicine to know that if the lungs are full and it.
Holla at your girl. What's going on? Happy Saturday. Thank you for being here. We just getting warmed up. We is just getting warmed up in this thing. Thank you as always for your support. You know I appreciate you as always.
Look at all this money, homie. I got all this money, homie.
Yes, man, welcome. You ain't missing. And we just getting warmed up.
It could be drowning or fluid caused by an overdose. Can't you get the fluid and test it?
So testing of the fluid from the lungs there's nothing to test for. What you're going to look for.
So cognitive. So I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but the way that they were describing the purpose of this autopsy, the way that Ben Crumpner was describing it, was to make sure that they can examine those critical organs, especially the throat area and things where they believe trauma may have happened, to do, like you said, to look for trauma and other things and other causes of death. So, you know, I'm just thinking about it according to how Ben Crumpner said that they wanted to, what they were looking for in this. So, but you know, as I say, I don't know everything, so I'm learning. So I appreciate the dialogue.
Is the pulmonary edema or fluid in the lungs. You're going to try and differentiate a drug overdose from drowning with a toxicologic study, which is what they're doing, and that can take up to 6 to 8 weeks. Drowning is a diagnosis of exclusion because it can mimic so many other things, including a drug overdose. You want to rule those things out before you determine cause and manner of death. And that's probably what they're doing. They're making sure he didn't overdose before they make the decision that he drowned. Now, the second autopsy being done.
So, Battleganger, you were saying the organs can be shared. You said a subpoena and thinking capacity of team handling the case. Remember, we are a team. So you're saying that if they get subpoenas and do the right processes, they can get the organs.
That's just the family obviously has no confidence in the local medical examiner / coroner system, and they've sent it to an independent person to do a second autopsy. Not uncommon, especially in cases that are more high profile or there's some sort of dispute, and they send it to an independent person to do a second autopsy to see what they can find. And from my knowledge, the information on that still isn't out yet. So they're also probably trying to find out what the toxicologic studies are going to show before they make a decision. So right now, we're kind of pending on what drugs he has on board.
Okay. So what both of you are saying is, that's why I said I don't trust nobody but the parents. So why didn't Ben Crump them and putting his name in it, because he's the one that's putting his face on it. So why didn't they go above and beyond to make sure that they can put in the right paperwork, do the subpoenas and everything to make sure that they can test those other organs to find out the information that they need to find out, instead of coming up with what they're coming up with and saying we still have to rely on the information from the original autopsy? Like, what's going on? Or am I tripping? Y'all let me know. Am I tripping?
Before they make a cause and manner of death statement.
Dr. Kendall Crowns, I understand, and I also understand your explanation regarding the potential drowning.
James Wilson, what's going on?
Fluid in the lungs, as opposed to or compared to the fluid in the lungs if there had been an overdose. If he's found right there, face down, it looked to me like in the surf, not out in the water floating, but up on the beach. So even if that was the least of it, the water still would have gone into his nose and mouth.
Holla at your girl. Listen, let me. Saying you talk to a lot of people on the case. This is not a case of accidental. This is a case of justice. It better be some kind of justice in this case. It better be. But you know how I go. You know how I go with us. Like, I just want to make sure that something happens. Something happens, because it better be. It better be.
If he were alive, he could have inhaled it or ingested it, even if a drug overdose was the true COD, which would require, I guess, what, Dr. Crowns, a dual finding of drowning and OD. And I'll just state for the record, let it be noted in the record, that I have never performed an autopsy, but I'm glad you pointed that out. So what about the fluid in the lungs if there had been an OD? And by the way, there is no suggestion that drugs were used that day. None whatsoever. But that said, you're saying that there would be no difference in the fluid found in his lungs.
So with a drowning, you're going into heart failure at some point from the anoxia created, or the lack of oxygen to the brain created by the drowning, because there's no air and water. And that causes your body to shut down, which causes fluid to back up and causes pulmonary edema or swelling of the lungs. The same process happens in a drug overdose. But when you're drowning and you're inhaling that water, you get some water in your lungs as well, but you're also swallowing, gulping it, throwing back up, and then swallowing and gulping it again. So you'll have water in your stomach.
So I get that they wanted to see the rest of the body in person. Like, I get that, because that is evidence that they can use. But especially the way Ben Crump was positioning it, and we do know in this case that those other organs are needed, like critical information may lie in those organs, even though they knew that those organs would be missing, and they're doing that. But you still need that critical information. And wasn't the purpose of the independent autopsy is to get different results from the one in Mississippi, like to get different total results or different partial results? Because I'm thinking, if you have an independent autopsy, that's because you don't trust the results of the first. And I'm not debating with you. I'm not saying you're wrong. Let me get that clear. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm just, thinking out loud. Like, if there's an independent autopsy, the independent autopsy is because we don't trust the results of the main autopsy. So we want full results from this. We want everything, not just partial results. So that's why I'm so confused in this case, and I don't trust nobody but the parents.
That you can look for in a drowning, not always. And sometimes you'll get water in an area in your sinus cavity called the sphenoid sinus as well. But the pulmonary edema created by drowning looks exactly like the pulmonary edema created by a drug overdose. So you can't really differentiate the two of those. And that's why the drug testing is so important. And yes, you are correct. If drugs come back on board, like let's just say fentanyl, it would be part 1 drowning, part 2 fentanyl toxicity, and then manner would be accident. So it's going to be a drowning no matter what. But is there going to be a toxicology component added on? And that's probably what they're working on as we speak.
You're on cross-examination. Who is the next big school event?
right, that's enough for Nancy and her eyebrows and her hair and her accent and all that stuff there. You're saying they take images all the way through the process, which they will get, and there will be real slides of any damage to the throat that they receive to review and give a second opinion on. All right. Like I said, I'm not disputing your information. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not disputing your information. I'm just saying, all right. I guess that's the process. All right. But you know, it just if those are the steps that they're taking. Okay. All right. Okay. It don't make sense to me. But okay. And it probably don't make sense to me because I don't know it. But okay. So I will admit that it could be my ignorance of all of that it don't make no sense to me. But I do hear and understand what you're saying. So and you know, because that was the whole point of the second autopsies, because they didn't trust the first one. So you know, yeah. So if y'all haven't already, please hit that like button. Please hit that like button. Help your boy out over here as we get through all these examinations and try to make sure we make sense of what's going on around us so we can be better. So the second video is a young lady compilation video, different information that kind of putting together to try to make more sense of what's going on. Hopefully this is a little more logical than what we got. So and this is our transition into Butter Biscuit, belly crawling Brandon Tatum, who wants to insert himself into this.
Funeral service was held for Nolan Wells yesterday, and after 16 heartbreaking days since he was last heard from, the 18-year-old was finally laid to rest. However, the work to uncover the truth and secure justice for Nolan is far from over. We are still awaiting the official autopsy results from the Mississippi State Medical Examiner, as well as the findings from the independent autopsy arranged by attorney Ben Crump's team. Now, we are also learning more about the condition in which Nolan was reportedly found.
In some aspects of that funeral was a spectacle as far as those so-called civil rights leaders, you know, taking the time to grandstand and stuff too. So I'm not saying fully, but some of the aspects of Nolan Wells' funeral was hijacked by people with their own agenda.
According to Brian Thrasher with the Cajun Navy, Nolan's body did not appear consistent with what he would have expected after someone had supposedly been in the water for approximately 2 days.
And then I noticed that there was what appeared to be a body right at the shoreline, laying face down on the sand.
The implication is that this body had washed up, unfortunately, on the shore.
That's what it looked like to me. Yeah.
Did you see any visible injuries or anything that you can speak to at that distance?
No. From that height, right? So it's best I can do. The description matched Nolan Wells. It matched the area. It was the area where we were looking. So I had good reason to believe, even before I heard from the sheriff's office, that it was him. The swim trunks appeared to be similar color to what was reported. The one thing I'll say about the condition of the body, and again, I want to stress very, as much as I can, that I'm at 450 feet in the air. So I did not have a good ground's eye view look. But normally when a body's been floating, you'll see some bloating and whatnot. He wasn't in the water that long. The water temperature was high. He has a low body mass index. So both of those factors together, normally we'll look for a body to pop up on about day 4, but we knew it was possible he could pop up as soon as day 2. And this was day 2. But again, the body did not seem at that height to be disproportionate to the way it should look.
So according to Brian Thrasher with the Cajun Navy, Nolan's body did not appear as swollen or disproportionate as he would have expected if Nolan had been in the water for approximately 2 days.
So am I left to believe that he goes out swimming all on his own and the friend girl leaves, the mates from school leave, everybody just leaves him out in the water and he dies and then just conveniently washes ashore? Somebody just left him out in the water? Does that make sense to you?
Now, early this morning, TMZ posted a video, which I posted last week, of what appears to be Nolan on the back of a boat. So let's zoom in and slow it down. They're saying that this is Nolan on the back of a boat, and it looks like he's getting a drink. There's an older gentleman, and it looks like he's talking to an older lady. They're also on the boat. So if you go to boatsonly.com and type in Ike Pyron, then you'll find out the owner of the actual boat that Nolan came in on, that we believed was Wyatt's boat, because if you recall, Warren's birth mother said that Warren did not have a boat. The boat that they came in on was Wyatt's boat. And if you look up the vessel number of the boat that they got on, according to the GPS coordinates, that vessel number is MI 4088BU. And if we go back to boatsonly.com and look up Ike Pyron's boat number, his boat number is showing MI 4088BU. Ike is also the one that made the statement, "I see you reposted this, so I just want to let you know what really happened. Can't be listening to all these black people saying his friends did something. He was with my brother that day on my boat, and he chose to stay. They know who the girl is. It happens at Horn all of the time. These guys posting this shit on TikTok are all worthless blacks who want nothing but views."
See, Battle Genja, that's that right there. That got me side-eyeing being Crump now. That got me side-eyeing now.
Nolan has basically lived at my house for the last 3 years. We would never do anything to harm him. So the boat Nolan originally came in on is at the top, and the boat that he was on later is at the bottom. These are not the same boats. Now, according to TMZ, they say that you can see a couple of older adults also on board the boat, which is anchored in neck-deep water, and there are several people hanging out nearby. Metadata shows that the video was recorded at 2:23 p.m. on July 4th, 2026. Now, while the video does not show the face of the guy on the back of the boat, the person who shot it felt strongly enough it could be Nolan that they went to the cops. Now, it was more than just these 4 guys. There were actually 3 boats that traveled together, so Nolan more than likely jumped from boat to boat. GPS coordinates were tracked for all 3 boats, but we only got information about one. So if this allegedly happened at 2:23 and
Well, you know, when we heard the name being Crump initially, we never had high expectations.
the guys say that they did not see him after 3 o'clock, then they saw Nolan after this video. What happened between 2:23, 3 o'clock, and 4:30 when you guys allegedly had bilge pump issues?
The boat data came in from Nolan Wells. Okay, you did a whole lot of damn traveling for that boat to be damn messed up. Look, at 9:56 a.m., that boat leaves to go to Horn Island. Okay, green, it's fine, ain't nothing wrong with that. Look, the boat arrives at 11:14 at Horn Island. Fine, that adds up to me, right? Then you leave at 4:31 p.m. All right, so y'all had a good little time, but I don't know if Nolan Wells was on that boat or not. Something tells me that he was on that damn boat. Look, this is where it gets real fuzzy. From 4:31 to 5:52, they done took a damn U-turn. They went somewhere and they went to Fort Bayou. Okay, well, I thought the damn boat was messed up.
Thinking, can y'all please come?
We talked about that before.
Horn Island back to the dock. Y'all took your ass to Fort Bayou. Why? What was there? The boat was messed up. Why would you go there? Look, then you leave Fort Bayou and you return to the original spot at 6:06 p.m. So from 4:31 to 6:06 p.m., there is fuzziness in here. That's about an hour and a half. If I'm not mistaken, about an hour and a half. Something happened to Nolan Wells in between this time right here. For them leaving that damn Horn Island to returning back to that, something happened at Fort Bayou. Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Auntie got time.
Look, and then after 6:06 p.m., you carry your ass back to Fort Bayou. Probably to check the scene out, make sure everything's clear. For whatever y'all damn did. So then, after 7:19, look, the boat was transported by car to Biloxi, Mississippi.
Hey, well, you know how if Ben Crump can get the message out, and if Dr. Bryant can interpret it,
No, y'all got some explaining to do. What happened between 431, basically between 60 and 606?
Foul play.
But for real, what happened between 431 and 719?
Foul play.
Then we have Officer Tatum, who has been condemning Ben Crump and Reverend Al Sharpton for getting involved in Nolan's case.
And let me say this. I was watching a video earlier. I heard Officer Tatum label Ben Crump as a race baiting ambulance chaser. And my first thought was, so are you. You and Ben Crump do the same thing, just on different sides of the aisle. So are you. Every time something happens, you rush to make sure white people feel good about it. You and Ben Crump come from the same, y'all are cut from the same mold. Y'all are cut from the same cloth, just on different sides of the aisle. What are you talking about? You do, Brandon Tatum he wakes up and put on knee pads so he can worship white people from his knees. He goes out of his way to make white people feel good, to be the ambulance chaser for white people. They do the same thing. They cut from the same cloth. What are you talking about?
And questioning the official narrative.
I gotta say something real quick. Benjamin Crump should be ashamed of himself. Al Sharpton should be ashamed of themselves. I'm right here in Mississippi. It's crazy that I had to fly down here to even get this information. They've been lying on these boys. I got evidence, and I'm.
But let's use our brains, people. Let's use our brains. Brandon Tatum is an outsider. Brandon Tatum is a black man who's an outsider. No matter how much he pandered to white people, Brandon Tatum is a black man who's an outsider. Those people don't need no help in covering up this case, because they've been doing a fine job in covering up this case. So why do they need Brandon Tatum to come in, and why do they need to talk to him, and why do they need to divulge information to him to help their case? In what type of way? We don't know any information about this case. Any. And then Brandon Tatum is going to come in and get the scoop? Get out of here, man. Ambulance chasing at his finest. He's calling out Ben Crump while he's doing the same thing that Ben Crump is doing. He just doing it for the white man. Shut up.
I'm going to show it to you, and I'm going to lay it out for you.
Now, regardless of anyone's personal feelings about Crump or Sharpton, Nolan's family has every right to seek independent answers, demand transparency, and bring in outside advocates when they believe important questions remain unanswered. Now, regarding Officer Tatum, he also states that he has interviewed some of the boys that were there with Nolan the day of July 4th, 2026, Warren being one of the boys. Take a listen to this.
All right, I told you guys I was here doing an interview in Mississippi. I'm going to interview Warren, one of the boys that was associated with this, and we're going to just have a conversation, and we're going to talk it through, and I want to hear his side, and I want you guys to hear his side. And I'm telling you right now, because we've talked before, but I want to have his statements on the record, that you're going to be shocked at some of the things that you hear. And there's gonna be
and Labs, look, I'm not disagreeing with you. But it's like, let him tell it. He's helping the case. Let him tell it. He's there to make a difference. Let him tell it. Come on, Tatum. These folk don't need you. They don't need you. And I do agree. Yeah, Crump is not bad mouth. That's what I'm saying. Brandon Tatum is on the other side of the aisle. Brandon Tatum is going to say whatever the white people need him to say. And, Ben Crump don't say whatever the black folk need him to say. So, yeah.
A few of y'all is going to have to give an apology. You just stay tuned.
Joining me now Joining me now is Revolt News Chief Political Correspondent Teslin Figaro and former police officer and host of the Officer Tatum show, Brandon Tatum.
Now I saw this interview earlier. This is pretty much a 2-on-1. The white lady Brandon Tatum against Teslin Figaro, and watch how they don't deal with the facts. if they show the whole thing, but watch.
Great to see both of you. Thanks for being here. So, Brandon, let's start with you. Just from a law enforcement perspective, what do you make of the timeline, the lack of answers, what maybe occurred here?
Well, I think the first thing is that these activists have came in and brought in information or lies about circumstances to make people question. The law enforcement officers have already done an autopsy. They've already investigated. There's no sign of foul play. And one thing that's very interesting that I just found out recently is that
he's saying that though there's inconclusive information in the autopsy, because the way that he's wording it, that there's no sign of foul play, and there's no sign that there's not foul play either. There's inconclusive evidence so far that we have from the autopsy. Nothing that's been released that we could say is conclusive to say that foul play did or did not happen. Everything is up in the air right now. But all right, and notice how when Brandon Tatum is talking, the white lady don't interrupt him. But wait till Tesla and Figaro start talking. Wait to watch what the white lady do though. But you know,
wasn't a situation where you have Nolan Wells and 4 of the kids at an island. There's thousands of people there. There's hundreds of different boats. So him staying behind while some of his other friends went back to the mainland wasn't that suspicious. I really wish that the family would focus on Nolan Wells' life, focus on the investigation, and let the police do their job instead of interjecting race into this situation. And it's completely unnecessary to be there at this point.
So, Teslin, you've worked with Ben Crump. You have valuable insight into how he operates. You're not speaking.
You say it's going to go 2 ways, either for Tatum, I told you so, or I had to go undercover for the. Well, yeah. But we all know what Tatum is doing. We know Tatum is being a pet for white folk. We know he's living on his knees and he's trying to be the I got you. I told you so. He's trying to be that person for them, but you know. But I do agree. Once all the information come out and all these things, it don't go its way. He's going to try to make excuses. You know that he was just trying to do this. I do it because that's the type of snake. I'm trying not to cuss, but he wake up every morning and choose to be a beast. So you know. But once again, I appreciate your support. Thank you. That Mississippi has all the body parts they need to examine, but they refuse to give it to them. And like you're saying, Benjamin Crump them ain't do what they need to do to get it.
For him tonight. But what do you think about the timeline and whether it determines whether Nolan was still alive before the boat left the island, like his friends insist?
Yeah, thank you, Katie. I'm speaking as a mom, of a 19-year-old. In the same way Officer Tatum
found.
Oh shoot, I didn't mean to do that. But this lady, this video is kind of it's heavily edited because Officer Tatum said a lot more. So
circumstance. I don't know what happened, but I do know themselves happened on that island because there's a lot of information that have come out, and I've gotten firsthand knowledge about some things that have happened on that island, and people are going to be ashamed of themselves.
That is with Nolan Wells. As I wish Officer Tatum,
whether Nolan was still alive before the boat left the island, like his friends insist.
Yeah, thank you, Katie. I'm speaking as a mom, of a 19-year-old. In the same way Officer Tatum wishes that people would not insert lies, I wish Officer Tatum would allow the independent investigation, to run its course. You don't know, Mr. Tatum, what has been talked about in this investigation. It has not been complete, and people have not came forward to say what happened with Nolan Wells. So I actually do believe his parents when they said that they taught their son to leave with whoever you came with. So for you to make the accusations that is a lie, when they're burying their son on Monday, is quite frankly to be disgusting, Officer Tatum. And I'm ashamed.
You know what's funny? I hope that you're paying attention to this because there's a lot of information that have come out, and I've gotten firsthand knowledge about some things that have happened on that island. People are going to be ashamed of themselves for sitting here lying and pushing racism in this circumstance.
Like somebody said earlier, anybody with 2 eyes can see that Officer Tatum full of shit. But that's his stick with this. Officer Tatum's main stick with this is he's trying to say that Nolan's parents are pushing a narrative of race. It's a case of a missing black person in Mississippi around a bunch of white people. It's always been about race. It's always been about race, but we get the tactics of trying to divert the attention and divert the information and make sure people not paying attention. But over here, you know, that's why we do examinations rather than just trying to react, trying to sit down and think about what's going on, take our emotions out of it and be logical about what's going on. But all right, Brandon, we see you and we hear you, Brandon. But you know, like Holla at Your Girl said, you either gonna be like, I got you, I told you so, or you're gonna be like, man, well, you know, I wasn't doing that, I was doing this. Yeah, all right, Brandon.
I don't know what happened, but I do know. I'll let you finish. I'll let you speak. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm just saying I got firsthand knowledge too. But as we're talking about right now, right now, you made the accusation that there were lies, that race has been interjected. Like I said last week, if people don't want people to speculate, then investigate.
Brandon, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that topic because Ben Crump is notorious and has been criticized by people who have used him in the past for their cases of being an ambulance chaser, pushing a narrative that fits the racial.
And before Officer Tatum answers this, if Officer Tatum was not an ambulance chaser, why is anybody talking to him or talking about him in this case? What professional help is he bringing anybody in this case? Talking about ambulance chasing, I'm just saying. The pot calling the kettle black. Why are you here? If you're not ambulance chasing, why are you here? Because once again, them white folk don't need you. They don't need you, but here you are. And you're right, he does. Tatum pushes racism. Tatum loves to make white people feel like we are the racists and we are the crazy ones because he know who greases his pockets. So yes, and once again, I appreciate all of your support. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. He does push racism. He pushes those narratives that helps white people feel good about the stuff that they do. And then they pat him on the head and feed him out of his dog bowl.
Lens that he wants it to. You've talked about this on your podcast and how you believe young black men are unfortunately killed every single day. And people like Ben Crump and Al Sharpton just highlight certain stories that benefit them rather than the families.
Well, let's keep it real. This is all about money. Benjamin Crump will never show up to a kid's funeral or say anything about a kid that's killed by another black kid. But if there's an opportunity to interject racism into a situation where there's no evidence of racism, Benjamin Crump will be there to do it. What is his end goal? He's not a...
And so are you. And so are you. And so are you, Brandon. Why are we talking to you? So are you. You always find yourself in these situations, talking about these situations, talking about race in these situations, but yet Ben Crump is the ambulance chaser. He's the only ambulance chaser in the building. If we're going to call out ambulance chasing, let's call it out. Maybe he can't call it out because, you know, he got a white man's penis touching the back of his throat because that's how much he's on these white people's jocks, slurping them. But, you know, if he was a man, if Brandon Tatum was a man, he wouldn't even be here in this capacity.
He's not a criminal attorney, so he's not going to help the family get justice on a criminal level. He's a civil rights attorney. You don't need a civil rights attorney in a case where you're wondering if the investigation is going right for your son, unless you believe this has something to do with racism.
Let him finish, and then I'll let you talk. Okay, let him finish his point, and then I'll let you respond.
He's going on a diatribe. So
no, he's not. He's speaking, and I'll let you respond as soon as he's done making his point.
Katie, I'll let the young lady go. Go ahead. I would love to hear what you got to say to that.
Go right ahead.
Thank you, Officer Tatum. Thank you. Well, let's just once again, speaking about things that you don't know about. Katie, you set it up with talking about Ben Crump being notorious for race baiting. I could name a couple of things that Officer Tatum here is also notorious for. So let's be careful on how we.
We don't need these personal.
I'm gonna finish my statement. I'm gonna finish my statement, and let me also.
If we're giving critiques about ambulance chasing, let's give critiques about ambulance chasing across the board. But of course, Butter Biscuit, white booty kissing Brandon Tatum, he think he's in the right But okay.
So correct you on something else, Mr. Tatum, when you said Ben Crump would never show up for a black kid that was murdered by a black kid. My cousin, Jordan Turner, who was 19 and was murdered by another black kid that also went away with his friends and never returned home, guess who showed up?
See, I'm gonna just go out and say it. Brandon Tatum wake up every morning and choose to be a bitch. I'm gonna just say it. Yeah, shame on him. But he wake up every morning and choose to be a bitch for the white man. I was trying not to say it, but there's no other way to say it. He wake up every morning and choose to be that. So, yes. Shame. I don't even think he has the capacity to understand or even have shame anymore, especially when it comes anybody who's been a sellout this long. It's like, when you catch a wild raccoon and you feed him out so you can clean him out and make sure that he's on your stuff. Like they caught this wild raccoon and they programmed him the way that they needed him, and he's here. Like Brandon Tatum, I believe they chained him up at night, and I believe he's sleeping in the doghouse with these white people. I really do. That he goes the extra mile for this, and you're gonna see it in this Warren video too, in the interview with Warren. But yes, it's wild, but
Attorney Benjamin Crump, I know you're looking confused. See, this is why it's important that you
was that related to black people? Was black people involved in his death?
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, that's
and
one.
They were convicted.
We didn't hear about it plastered all over the media. That's a big difference.
This is why you don't know. This is why you should speak of what you know and not what you heard. So again, when it comes down to Nolan Wells,
Ben Crump is one of his offices in Tallahassee. Ben Crump cut his teeth in Tallahassee. Ben Crump used to be a part of Parks and Crump. Now I'm not defending Ben Crump totally, but the point that he said Ben Crump don't show up when a black person does something to a black person. We know Brandon Tatum can't read. We know Brandon Tatum got a second grade education. Like, we know that. But any smart person, all you got to do is Google it. That's all you got to do.
I ask that we use this time to ask people to come forward and speak about what they know. The young man did not come home, Brandon. He didn't come home. So let's use this time, instead of focusing on what people are saying in the comments, let's continue to stay in
Brandon. I mean, Ben Crump is the one making this conversation in the media. Ben Crump is the one making this conversation in the media. He's the one pushing this out there so people do speculate ahead of the investigation, not letting it play out. But Brandon, I want to ask you this question. Teslin, 1 second. Brandon, there's been a lot of accusation and pushing that Nolan Wells' white friends have not been questioned enough, as if they were somehow responsible for his death based on race. That seems like a highly irresponsible narrative to be pushing, especially when we don't know all of the facts yet.
100%. It is a flat out lie. The police department isn't doing their investigation. They're doing it fair and properly. Benjamin Crump cannot come out right now and say that the investigation isn't going like it should. They're interjecting race into something that has nothing to do with race. These boys were friends.
No. Now, remember, Brandon Tatum is an idiot. And so he thinks other people are idiots too. Brandon Tatum never can disprove a person's point. His whole narrative is Ben Crump is pushing a racial narrative. Prove it. Dispute the points, but remember, that's not his goal. His goal isn't to do that. The goal is to push a narrative. He's injected himself into this and put himself to help push a narrative. And because he like, white people need me. He saw something that he thought white people was in trouble. He put his cape on, like, white people need me, and ran over there. So, yeah, he did say he loved how he was treating Israel, but let's say, now the only thing I would trade is, let's not disrespect the sunken place. He's in the Brandon place, because the Brandon place is lower than the sunken place. So let's do that. He is beyond help and got to stand in that identity. The black community ain't taking. Yeah. Well, now we bet not take him back. But the problem with the black community is we protect Young Miami. So, we got a lot of stuff to clean up. We can't take him back, but we protect Young Miami. So we do got a lot of stuff to clean up. Yeah, just where the white people love us to be. around arguing without result. Well, you know, Nene, hey, long time no read. Yeah, happy to have you here, Nene. Let's continue this.
The coach came out, who happened to be a black man, that said he don't believe race is a factor. These boys grew up together. These boys go to school together. This is a tragic situation, and they should leave it at what it is, and that's a tragedy. Let the investigation unfold. Benjamin Crump they're already out saying this has something to do with race because the boy was with white guys. That is asinine.
Just like you
that is
described
shameful. Just
like you describe it when you talk about black on black crime constantly. So what a black man, a young black boy went with his white friends and didn't come back. So why are you not asking the white children to speak up? Nobody saw nothing, Brandon.
They are speaking. They are speaking.
Wait. That he didn't come home.
All right, we gotta run.
White got to do anything.
We got to
run.
We hope that the family can get some answers because a young man is dead and we want his family to have closure. Teslim Figaro and Brandon Tatum, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
And with watching that, you should know how this interview with Warren is going to go.
So, yeah. And with that being said, of course, you know, I do got that Warren video, but of course, this is about Officer Tatum is, in my opinion, inserted himself to help push narratives to help the white folk, because once again he thought he saw a bat signal in the sky and he thought white people was in trouble and needed him, and here he is doing his bullshit. So here we are. All right, so Officer Tatum did sit down with Warren Cole, the son of Judge Ashley Cole, and decided to have this interview about what happened. Now, I'm going to compare what Warren is saying in this video to the details that we already have. So let's do it.
I'm gonna ask you some very pointed questions. I mean, just straight out. The first thing I want to ask you is, did you kill Nolan? All right, Warren, we had a chance to get to know each other over the last, 2 days. We went out to Horn Island. So I've had an opportunity to talk to you about a few things, and the things that you've told me have literally blown my mind. But the world hasn't had a chance yet to hear your story, to hear Nolan's story through you, through his friend. And it's not just you.
Bring me back some orange chicken, my brother. Bring me back some orange chicken and some sesame chicken too, my brother.
It's a bunch of y'all. But you know, some of the other guys were afraid because of the threats and the violence that's been threatened against their lives and all of the above. But you decided that you wanted to take this bold step and give a statement and, you know, get your side out here. And I want to start at the very beginning of all of this and ask you, what was your relationship like with Nolan? Who was he to you?
Nolan, I could describe Nolan in a million ways. I mean, Nolan was not just a best friend of me, but he was a brother. I grew up through elementary, middle school, high school, and even our freshman year of college. You know, we talked on the phone all the time. We were really close friends. And
now, remember, Nolan's mother has already come out and said that he was not best friends, close friends with Warren. She said Javon and Jay Sean, I think, those were the only two names that she named that they were best friends. Now, I'm not doubting that they had a friendship, but the way he's describing their closeness and the way the mother described their closeness is two different things. Because the mother is like, she don't even know them. She don't even know their parent, none of that stuff. But she only named two names of people that she knows. She knows their parents, that's been to her house, all these things there. So, yeah. Says, doesn't it seem strange that, well, right, that's what I'm saying. The son of Judge Ashley Cole is the one that's been interviewed by Brandon Tatum. Judge Ashley Cole's son, the same one who has, since this incident happened, has been out in the public trying to make sure she get out in front of the narratives. All I'm saying is we holla at your girl. We on the same page. We are on the same page. And once again, thank you for your contribution. Thank you, my sister. Thank you. Yeah, the moment dude said Nolan was a brother, man, his mom's already called that out. She's already said they lying. Said, I would say Katie is the scapegoat for something. Katie, right, because we don't even know who Katie is. Tristan and Warren are both using her being with Nolan to separate themselves from the incident. Hey, look here.
I mean, Nolan was like a brother to me, and Nolan lit up every room he walked in. He always had a smile on his face.
I bet you wasn't like a brother to Nolan.
I've never seen Nolan get in an argument with somebody and say bad things about someone. You know, there's a lot of people that talk crap nowadays, and Nolan was never that person. Sweetest soul ever. And I mean, I had a great relationship with Nolan. I've never got in an argument with Nolan. We were super close, and I've never said or will ever have anything bad to say about Nolan Wells.
Yeah, and you guys, you said you kind of grew up together.
Hey, BG, I'm learning. I got to find the accomplices. I bet you I get all them hundreds of thousands of views then, huh?
Did you know his mom, or how was that? Because I saw in the media where
he didn't know his mom.
That she may have said, at least I saw in part, that she said as if she didn't know any of you guys.
Right. Well, Nolan a lot of the times was at like my house and at my buddy's house. We never went to Nolan's house and hung out.
So you don't know him like that. So y'all not best friends. How you best friends with somebody you ain't never gone to his house and hung out? How were you like a brother to somebody and you've never been to their house and hung out? There's not one person that I call a brother that I haven't spent extensive time with. I don't know if their family, I know their family members, they know my family members. Come on, man. You've never been to his house and hung out, but y'all brothers. All right. It says in this video, it says, my buddy Tristan called me the moment they found his body, which even the police would say sounds like he called to say, you straight, you not. Oh, man, yeah. Right.
Very, very tight knit. I mean, we hang out every day when we're back home from school.
But you've never been to his house?
Most weekdays and every day on the weekend. And I mean, we were never at Nolan's house, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. I got black friends in this Nolan.
I met his father, and I mean, in 8th grade, that's when Nolan and I like got really close. It was COVID year, and we were in class all year long together, me and a couple of my buddies, and Nolan and I just got super tight because we'd get a Waffle House once a week together, eat, and I mean, we were just super, super close. But his dad would swing by Waffle House, you know, and like, you know, hang out around us, but never, you know, I was never around Nolan.
Why didn't his father, when his father had a chance to confirm or to even say that, his father never said that. His father had a chance to say, well, you know, I would go by a Waffle House and I would see Warren and I would speak to Warren. The father never said that. Why?
Nolan's parents a lot, but I mean, that didn't change our relationship any. Nolan and I were still just as close, and he was just as close with my friends as, you know, anyone else. So.
And walk me through.
Hey, that is funny.
4th of July.
That is funny.
Where you
tight,
guys
my
were
brother,
all
what's
going
going
out.
on?
This seems like something that I would assume that may have occurred more than just this year.
Hey, that is funny.
It's something that you guys did more than just this year.
I appreciate you. It's
a two-part question. I want to know.
Thank you.
Is it something that you guys typically did together? Did you hang out often in this fashion? And then I want you to then walk me through 4th of July this year.
Like the father never said, you know what, I would see Warren.
You know, being from the Gulf Coast,
he never said that.
There's boating and fishing is very, very popular. The 4th of July, every year, my friends and I, or my family and I, are out on the water. I mean, that's the one day is guaranteed everybody's going out. And that's a known thing. Everybody's trying to get a ride out to Horn Island, or, you know, people go to Ship Island, but most of everybody from Ocean Springs and the Gulf Coast go to Horn Island. And, you know, we went last year. Nolan was on the boat with me last year, and he was, I mean, this was a common thing. My friends go on the boat when we're home. Very, very common. That's what we like to do. My friends like to fish also. And like to go on the boat, not just fishing, but like to go on the boat, like to go on sunset cruises, like just like
this is
like to
this is
do
some
it all,
bull.
on the water, and
this is some
I mean,
deflecting
Nolan
bull.
loved to do that too. I mean, he was not like he was just like everyone else in our friend.
And another thing too, it seems as if so many narratives are being shaped in this, but one of them is the attention will be on Officer Tatum. The attention will be on Warren. The attention is everywhere but on where it needs to be. So it's like, let's pay attention to this, let's pay attention to this, rather than the lack of details that are being put out.
He loved to
and
go
this
on the
is
water
very
and,
weird.
Have a good time with the guys, and that's what we did a lot. But 4th of July, everybody was out there. Like I said, like Nolan was always trying to go on the boat, trying to go out there with us, and he was always welcome to come. Nolan was always out there with us.
They just went to school together.
But
I ain't saying they ain't hang
started
out,
4th
but
of
they
July,
weren't, they weren't brothers
buddies
like
and I
that. They
talked
weren't
about
friends
this
like that.
weeks upcoming. Everybody's very, very excited for the 4th of July from down here. Like it's a big thing.
It's a big deal.
Very, very big deal. And I mean, I actually stayed with Nolan that night at my buddy's house, and I woke up at my buddy's house, and we went to McDonald's, got food. Nolan was not with me, and I went and got breakfast. I had my buddy's boat hooked up to my truck, and well, first I ran to my house, then I went to McDonald's and came back, and the boat was already hooked up to my truck. My buddy Wyatt and I went, and with my buddy, and we went, topped the boat off, loaded it down with ice, and just got everything ready. Then Wyatt went and put his smaller boat in the water, which is the Palm Beach. He's an 18-foot Palm Beach, and I drove the boat from Fort Bayou boat launch to my buddy's grandparents' house, and that's where we all
it'll be a whole lot of
that
information
day.
now.
And you say we all, who you talking about? You, Nolan, and how many people are going to meet you guys there?
We had roughly 20 to 30 people coming on 3 separate boats with us. And so we were all following each other out there as one big group. It wasn't just me and Nolan and a couple other of my buddies. There was 20 or 30 people spread out where we all met at the dock before, and then we departed to go to Horn Island. It wasn't just a couple of us. I mean, there were so many people, we had to split up between 3 boats, and we all left and all got there at the same time.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that's clear.
And the problem, like, Tatum is acting like he got some grand information that's gonna bust this case wide open. As a matter of fact, in one of these interviews, he did act like he got grand information that's gonna bust this case wide open. Well, why aren't you sharing it? If you got information that can help the case, why aren't you sharing it? Because he be lying. Man, he look like he got breast.
Because the statements that are out there made it appear that it was just you, Nolan, and probably 2 or 3 other guys.
He do seem like
y'all are the only ones that went out to this island.
I want to beat
completely
Nolan when I grow
incorrect.
up.
I mean, Horn Island on the 4th of July is the most popular day to be on the water throughout the entire Gulf Coast. I mean, everybody and their mom is on the water on 4th of July, There's no telling. I mean, roughly probably 2 to 3, maybe even 4,000 people out there. There were boats lined up off the island. I mean, there was 3 rows of boats all the way until my vision ended, until I could see of people there was 1 row of boats, and then there was another row of boats, and then there was a 3rd row of boats. Yeah. I mean, there was people lined up all up and down the island to where, I mean, who knows? I mean, and that wasn't just, we were parked on the north side, on the west tip. It wasn't just there. I mean, there's tons of people packed out on the south side and on the east end and in the middle of the island. But just where we were, I mean, there was easily 1,000 people. It wasn't just us.
Let's go back a little bit. I want to go back to you guys at the dock, getting on the boat. You're saying there's multiple people, probably 20 or 30 people getting on 3 boats.
Ask the real questions,
what boat
man.
Were you on, and what boat was Nolan on?
Nolan was on Wyatt's 22 Triton.
So he's saying Nolan was on
the
Wyatt.
way out.
Like
I went
the young
with my
lady
buddy
said in the last
Bart
video.
because we had a lot of friends from college coming down, and I called Bart that morning. I was like, hey man, can you take your boat out? And he was like, yeah, well, my dad's
I hear
decided
you
not to
uptight.
go,
I
and
hear you.
I'll take the boat and I'll take you and your friends. Of course. I mean, he's a buddy of mine. And so Bart pulled up at the dock, and I mean, I rode out there with Bart and a lot of the girls that go to college with my friends and I, and Nolan rode out on the Triton, and then we had a Palm Beach, 18 Palm Beach. There was 4 guys on that. There was like 8 people on the Triton, and then there was 8 or 9 people on the Triton, and then there was the rest of the group, which was ranged from maybe 10 to 15 or 16 people on my buddy's tide line, which is 24 tide line.
And so you guys get on, and I know a little bit more than the audience do because we went out there a little earlier because I wanted to see exactly what the drive was like, what the dock was like, how far it is.
You going to see Horn Island after the incident don't give you more information. No, it doesn't. No, it does. That don't give you more information on what happened because you saw Horn Island. So that means everybody who's ever been to Horn Island got more information on Nolan's what happened to Nolan. Man, shut up, man. Shut up. Never mind. Well, his audience is full of idiots. So. Yeah, Brandon consider anything white as gospel. That's why Brandon don't even close his eyes when he go to sleep because it's black, and he want to see white
out there,
of course.
But I want you to tell the audience, like, what was this trip like? How was the waters? Did you guys do anything in between the time you rode and the time you get to the island? Was there music? Is it like a big party? Like what is that?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously music's blasting. It's 4th of July, man. I mean, everybody's really excited.
Tatum's
we had a lot of people loaded down, so
and journalism leads to this weak ass interview.
We're just trying to make sure everybody, gets out there safe. And so, I mean, on the way out there, it was pretty calm. I think it was blowing like 3 or 4 knots. I mean, the waters were clear. It was a great day to be on the water. Sunshine, not cloudy at all. And I mean, it was a great day to be out there on 4th of July. And so, I mean, we followed each other out, and I mean, it was calm. It was calm. On the way back, it was a little more rough, but it was not anything all my buddies' boats couldn't handle, or like it wasn't like we were getting really beat up or anything. I mean, it was pretty calm.
And so you guys get out there. I'm assuming that you line the boats up because I'm envisioning the picture of getting out there and there's hundreds of boats. Mm-hmm. There's thousands of people. Yeah. So it wasn't just you guys on a deserted island with
of course not
a few people. This is thousands of people out there.
Right.
And there's a lot of people doing what? What does it look like when you first
Which goes to my point that I've been consistently making. Motherfuckers know what happened to Nolan Well because there was too many people out there for them not to know. Whether it was around 3:30, 4:30, 5:30, 7 o'clock. There's too many people out there for them to not know what happened to Warren. So it's a big cover-up job.
I pull up, and we pulled up at 10:30. I mean, it wasn't, early afternoon. I mean, it wasn't, but 10:30 is, it's still pretty early in the day. And when we got there was already 3 rows of boats lined up all the way, like I said, until I could see. And
when you say all you can see, you're speaking about miles of boat. When we went out there earlier today, but when we went out there, the island is massive.
Correct.
I mean, it's just several miles long.
Roughly 10 to 12 miles. I mean, it's...
So do you think that the boats were stretching from one end to the next, or just a small area of about a mile or less than a mile of boats?
Well, I mean, I think there was boats all the way around the entire island, but I think some spots were more popular than others. Like the West Tip is usually very, very crowded on the 4th of July, and everybody knows that. So that's where a lot of people park because they want to be around other people. And the East End's a little more, there's not as many people, but there's still a lot of boats out there. I mean, it's not like every area of Horn Island is covered 100%.
Wow. So you get out there, y'all jump out. What do? When I say jump out, you obviously not just sitting on the boat. The island is there. Like, what exactly are people doing there? Like, are you spending more time in the water, on the island, in the boat?
You say you're not hearing the video. Can other people hear the video? Let me make sure. Hold on. Can other people hear the video? I can hear it on my end. Can y'all hear?
So, like, how is that look out there?
I mean, everybody, as soon as you get there, I mean, there's people on boats, yeah, grabbing drinks and, you know, food, whatever else. Like, I mean, everybody is fully prepared for the 4th of July. They bring, you know, all the drinks and food that they need because, I mean, they've been preparing for 4th for a little while now. But when we got there, I helped my buddies tie the boats up because the tie line was right here, the Palm Beach was in the middle, and then the Triton was on the outer side. And there was about a drop off from where the bow was. I mean, if you jumped off the bow, you were probably about neck deep in water, but if you got off the stern, you were probably waist deep in water. I mean, but when we got there, we tied up, got, you know, bow and rear anchor set.
And so I've heard a lot of people basically say that Warren doing this was not, from a legal standpoint, wasn't the best move for him because he's putting these words on record, and it's going to come a time where he's going to have to defend these words. And so this interview with Officer Tatum may not have been the greatest move for him, and he may hurt himself in the long run. So we're going to see.
And we tied up all the boats, made sure they were good, and everyone just got on the water. Then eventually, next thing you know, it's our group. And then, you know, next thing you know, there's 50 other people around us. And then it just grew and grew as the day came on. And, you know, I mean, that's just how it was. Everybody's drinking, you know, I mean, it's 4th of July. Everyone's just trying to enjoy themselves. And, you know, it's a big party, basically. Big party.
Right, Renee.
So y'all pretty much having a good time. Just like anybody would imagine, 18-year-olds, probably 20-year-olds, college students, out on the island, women. You know, you probably had alcohol, so y'all having a good time.
Yeah, of course.
And so where's Nolan in this? You know, you guys out there, the friend groups are out there, 3 boats full of people that came out there that seem to be the closest friend group.
Right.
Where's Nolan in this in comparison to where you and others are at?
Well, you know, I had a couple conversations with Nolan that day, and I talked to him and a couple of my other buddies. They in a group. I was not focused on anyone solely, like looking and pointing anyone out, because there's so many people out there. I mean, I was talking to my friends that I haven't seen in a while from high school. I was talking from people I knew from college. I was talking to, you know, everybody my age, and even people older than us were, you know, over there. Like, I mean, it was just a regular thing. You know, we're all used to this. We've been out to the islands before. My buddies don't just go out to the island on 4th of July, but they go out, you know, every weekend. And like, I fish the islands. I don't just, you know, fish around Horn Island. I fish around Ship Island too. So I'm very familiar with the islands. And I feel like it was just a big, I talked to Nolan, and, you know, Nolan was drinking. Everybody was drinking, most of everybody. And I mean, Nolan seemed completely fine every time I talked to him. We had just regular conversations, and, you know, Nolan was making me laugh. I had a couple conversations with Nolan and Javon, Nolan and my buddy James, Nolan, and I mean, I could tell you, I mean, I talked to Nolan a couple times, but it wasn't like I was strictly sitting there talking
that,
to Nolan
BG.
all day. I mean, there was
Appreciate that battle again.
hundreds of people I knew out there. So
yeah, and Nolan said something interesting. You told me about this. Something he said to you, I would say would be indicative of y'all's friendship.
Right.
And then he also mentioned something to you about that particular day and what it meant to him.
Right.
And could you share that?
Right. Yeah. So Nolan and my buddy Javon are talking, and, you know, I grew up with Nolan, and Nolan's, you know, just like I said, like just so joyful, like always happy. Like every picture I have with Nolan.
So if you're claiming Nolan to be your brother, you should be on his singing. You should be telling everything. If anything happened to one of my homies, I'm telling everything. You're gonna have to cut my lips off and crush my jaws to stop me from telling. There's too many people around for nobody to know anything. And it's too much of him talking about he's my brother, he's my brother, he's my brother. But why you ain't saying nothing? Said Joseph, remember, there are adults in the background that are legal savvy. This may also be strategic. Planning to circumvent the later trial jury tampering is illegal, but not. Nah, I feel you.
Or picture I have of Nolan, he's smiling. I mean, like, he's always happy. If I always need like a shed of light, I'm calling Nolan, you know. And Nolan and I laugh and joke a lot. Like, that's how our friend group is. We're really jokingly laugh. You know, no one takes anything that serious. You know, we enjoy our time together. You know, I mean, there's never any awkwardness within our friend group. We're very, very tight. So if I ever need to get something off my chest or talk to anybody, I'm talking to all my friends. I'm not just talking to like specifically anybody. I would go out, like, even if I'm having issues with something, I go talk to my group chat, and my guys are there. You know, give me a hand anytime I need it.
Yeah, definitely contradiction, because according to his mother, Ashley Cole, they're saying that the last time Warren seen Nolan was 3 p.m. So anything Warren talking about seeing Nolan after 3 p.m. is a contradiction to what was already on record. But even this interview, we still ain't learning nothing. We're still not getting closer to the answers.
And all my guys are, you know, all my buddies are the same exact way. You know, Nolan was the same exact way. If you ever need something, I'm here, man. Like, that's how he was. So.
And then you guys get ready to leave
right.
prematurely.
Contradicting themselves.
Like, explain that, because you guys got there around 10.
Yeah.
It's now 4:30.
Right.
People are still out there partying and they're having a good time, but something happened to where
contradicting themselves, because on the record say he left at 3.
Get the boat up and running.
Even Ashley Cole said it.
So
it says, and that's part 1. So in the information that they have, it says one of the timeline issues investigators must reconcile was 3 p.m. merely the last time Warren Cole saw Nolan. And then it's saying, according to Ashley Cole, the friends boat left Horn Island around 4:30 p.m. because it was taking on water and expecting to be a problem. She said Nolan had chosen to stay. And so who told Ashley Cole that Warren chose to stay? Because she wasn't there. I mean, that Nolan chose to stay because she wasn't there. And then initially Warren said 3 o'clock was the last time he saw him. Then Javon said he saw him around 4. Right. So we know Warren lying, and there's a lot of contradicting stories. But once again, Officer Tatum inserting himself into something. He's an ambulance chaser himself. Tatum is an ambulance chaser for white people. So they smile in your face all the time. They want to take your place. There you go. And getting back to some of the cultural things that Nemesis was saying earlier, I fully agree. I fully agree with you, Nemesis. I fully agree on the cultural examination that, you know, culturally we do a lot of things that's out of order. That's the inappropriate behavior that Dr. Clyde Anderson was talking about. You know, but we ain't gonna, that's why we here talking about it. That's why we here, because the culture and the inappropriate behavior, and that does have to be fixed. But also understanding that the same people who are covering up what happened to the same people who are covering up what happened to Nolan are expected to bring justice. And I don't see that happening. You see, I started the video off even with the DA. Everybody, all the authorities are on the side of the white kids who are trying to say that there's no foul play, but nobody knows what's happened to them. And they're trying to sum it up as a drowning. And then you insert Ben Crump them, and we still don't find no information. Ben Crump read like I was reading the other day when I was reading them Bible scriptures. And I was reading the King James Version. But the independent autopsy, all the things there, like all we are doing is paying attention more, but we haven't learned anything new. All these new pieces being interjected into this and no new information. We don't have any information either way to say foul play or not. But what we do know is a whole lot of information is being covered up. We know a whole lot of information that should have been released is not being released. A whole lot of investigations that should have happened have not happened. And here we are. more questions than answers, right? All we know, all we know is this is one of the photos. This is some of the people that he was with, and there was a whole bunch of people out there on this island. And apparently, these are the ones that he was supposed to come back with, and he didn't. So, you know, if Crump would have not gotten to this, it would have been open. I'm not saying Crump didn't bring nothing, but what I am saying, we ain't finding no more information. No, we still don't have any more facts, any more information, because Crump did his job. Crump did his job to bring eyes to this. Crump did his job to bring narratives to this. I am acknowledging that. But as far as being able to get concrete information to make sure that justice happens, we still don't have that. So, yeah, that self-critique. You know, some of our people will toss the phone and it goes, yeah, hey man, hey. So, you know, that's why I try not to get. That's why I take the emotions out of a lot of this stuff, because I understand where we are as a people and how we behave in the inappropriate behavior that we continue to put forth on a regular basis. So I try to take the emotions out of this and just try to look at the information and the facts. But I also say that's why we learn, we come on here, we fellowship, and we learn, and then we take the real work back into the real world, and we do real things in our real lives and our real communities. And then we have even more real conversations there that we shouldn't be having online. This is the foundation, and we take it offline back into our communities and do real things to make sure we're building real things, right? So with that being said, I am at my time cap for today. And as always, I love you all. I love spending time with y'all. I love examining things with y'all, learning. I'm learning every time I get on these lives with you all, and I appreciate that. That means that y'all the greatest chat, the greatest audience in the world. So all y'all are number one to me, and let's keep on pushing forward and making ourselves better. And we gotta do something to protect ourselves. We gotta do something to better protect ourselves. You said the whole world got Jackson County system under a microscope. Nah, yeah, definitely not that. Definitely not that. I'm not discounting that, but we need concrete information to get justice, though. Because the goal is not just attention. The goal is justice. So we do need that. So say, dude, look like he's seriously holding the bottle of sunscreen. That would have been the fluorescent neon sign, especially when you the only one on the boat. Hey man, look here. So y'all make sure y'all enjoy y'all Saturday, enjoy y'all weekend, and I'll see y'all again live on Tuesday night at 9 p.m. And be your best black selves. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all later. Y'all have a great day. Peace out.